the cities of Glasgow and Liverpool. Firmly entrenched in the local psyches, it's how allegiances are identified and families can be divided. These are cities where passions run high and fans demand heroes.
It could do anything. It could do anything, Kenny.
If you pick a world 11, you know, Kenny Daglish should definitely be in it.
He's just a genius.
The king, Kenny Daglish, the best player to ever wear the red shirt.
Kenneth Matheson Dalglish is one of those heroes, a footballer known to many simply as the King. In July 2009, Liverpool Football Club welcomed back a legend. Overseeing the club's academy and taking on an ambassadorial role at the request of manager Rafael Benitez, Kenny Daglish was back at the club he served for 14 years.
I'm delighted to come back. Rafa was wanting to make changes. He wanted me to come back and help with the academy, with the redevelopment of the academy, and also thought it would be of help to the club in some other aspects as well.
His return has ensured that the name Dalglish will forever be linked with Liverpool. The fact remains, though, it already was, and always would be. Born in Glasgow in 1951, Kenny Daglish was raised in the Docklands of Govan, where, like thousands of other kids nationwide, football quickly became a priority.
Something I always wanted to do. I enjoyed going to the matches, I enjoyed playing football, I enjoyed kicking the ball in the back garden with my dad. Something I wouldn't say interfered with my studies, but I wouldn't have thought the marks would have got me too good a job, so just as well had a wee bit of ambition to be a professional footballer. And I was fortunate that I got the right people at the right time came to watch me.
One of those people was Sean Fallon, assistant manager to the great Jock Stein, when Glasgow Celtic became Britain's first European champions in 1967.
Tremendous ability, skill, great touch on the ball, and reading the situations was 100%. He was a boy, actually. Once you looked at him, you'd sign him straight away.
Dalglish was a regular visitor to Ibrox, home of Celtic's fierce rivals Rangers. But as his reputation grew, the young Scot waited for a phone call that never came.
Plenty of rumours going about, and the Rangers scout saying I was signing for Rangers, and everybody thought I was signing for Rangers apart from myself and my dad, because we were never asked. But when Celtic came in, then my dad, who was a Rangers fan as well, said, well, if you're going to get an education in football, that's the best place to go.
Celtic's captain was Billy McNeil, already a legend at the club, having lifted the European Cup that year.
I remember one pre-season, suddenly this young fella came in with the rest of a group of youngsters, all talented, lots of real talented players, but this one stood out, and every one of us notices him.
Celtic had unearthed another diamond, albeit one still flawed. The raw talent needed a tougher edge, but for the time being at least, would not find it at Celtic Park.
He'd been down in England at 2 or 3 clubs. He actually spent a month at Liverpool and came back home. We fixed him up then and placed him out to Cumbernauld Juniors, where he was playing among men there.
It was an experience, and it certainly toughened you up. There was no prisoners.
At the end of that season, Big Jock took the Celtic first team to Cumbernauld, and they all respected and appreciated what Jock had done in giving them Kenny.
The appreciation was mutual. 37 goals brought Dalglish back to Celtic, where his education continued apace. He was not alone.
Quality Street gang, they were fabulous. I mean, what a fantastic group of players we were. I mean, I'm saying that it was obvious that you could see Kenny was going to be a real star, but that was obvious about Danny McGrain, David Hay, George Connolly, Lou Macari, Paul Wilson. They were super players, they really were. It's as talented a group of youngsters as I've ever seen.
They won every competition they played in, which was unique. It was only a matter of time before they're pushing the first team players.
Well, it always seems as if you won everything when you look back, doesn't it? It wasn't quite like that. We did win a few things, but we also lost as well. And I don't think there's any harm in losing. Teaches you to be that bit more hungry and appreciative to win something else.
Learning his trade alongside Daglish was Danny McGrain.
Brain just took in so much. I may have taken one or two things from their surroundings, but Kenny seemed to have taken in 5 or 6 or 8 or 9. But his brain, if he leads to science, will be an amazing thing to look at.
I think the first time I ever played for the first team was the second leg of a League Cup tie. They played, I think it was Hamilton Accies at Celtic Park, and beat them 10-0 in the first leg or something. And we went back to play them in the second leg, and they were 4-0 up in the second half, and they put me on. He wasn't taking a chance, was he? 14-0 up in aggregate, and he said, right, we can risk it.
Daglish broke into the first team as Celtic were midway through an historic run of 9 league titles in a row, and already his attitude showed wisdom beyond his years.
He knew what was needed to be a top professional.
And when you get a start in professional football, then you've got to take it. The start is basically what it says, only the start. It's not the end. Once you're there, then the hard work starts. But some people fail because when they get there, they think that's it.
It was a golden age for the club, and Daglish was soon at the heart of it.
Kenny had this great attribute of creating space, leaving space for you to put the ball into the space, and it made it so easy.
What he had was so important, was speed of thought. And that will overcome speed of movement.
He had a great knack of scoring goals and just creating goals. And we took it for granted then, because it was just a thing that Kenny did.
He had the wee bit of genius that separated him from even the very best player.
In 1977, Daglish led Celtic to the League and Cup double, but had become restless and sought pastures new.
It wasn't an easy decision to make. And I suppose some people would say it was selfish. Well, life isn't a rehearsal. You've got to do what you've got to do, and if you're ambitious, you've got to go and try somewhere else.
Big Jock tried like nobody's business to keep him, but you know, Kenny, great determination, and when he thought that he was doing something that was good for him and good for his career, then he just went about and did it.
He's got too good for us. He's got too good for Celtic.
In a similar twist of fate, Liverpool's current hero was about to spread his own wings. Kevin Keegan's would be tough boots to fill. Liverpool fans knew it.
Don't need to worry. Absolutely. No. He would be twice the player that Keegan would be. No, he was something special.
We wondered how the clever Bob Paisley would replace him. Well, in fact, he replaced him with a different type of player.
I didn't see myself as a direct replacement for Kevin, and I never would do. You've got to be yourself, and as yourself, you'll stand or fall by it. But there's no way that you try to be someone else.
Having achieved everything he'd set out to at Celtic, Daglish was desperate to prove himself on the European stage he'd craved so much. Liverpool had just been crowned champions of Europe for the first time, and in August 1977 they finally got their man. Kenny Daglish signed for Liverpool for £440,000, a British transfer record.
If I had a choice to pick anywhere, I'd have picked Liverpool Football Club, and I was very fortunate they came and asked.
I would have taken him even had Kevin been here, so it was a bonus that we did get him when we did, but I would certainly have taken him. And look how lucky I would have been then, I might have won something then.
Anfield and Daglish were a perfect match. Liverpool's success matched the height of his own ambition, and he found himself among kindred spirits.
The first day we came training, the lads were as hungry for success that year as what they must have been the previous year, when they'd also won the league championship and lost in the cup final to United. So I thought, this will do me if I still get the hunger for it.
Wearing Keegan's iconic number 7 shirt, he made his debut in the Charity Shield. 9 months later, he was back at Wembley.
Part of my dream was always to win a European trophy.
Against Bruges, Liverpool set out to defend their European crown. Dalglish's contribution was decisive.
Graham just pushed it through into space. The keeper came running out in a narrow angle, but I just waited for him to go down and then lift it over the top him. And if it hadn't been in target, Davy Fairclough, I think, would have tapped it in anyway, so irrespective of who scored. It was just getting your hands on that winner's medal. That was the most important thing to myself. And another thing that I always wanted to do was to go around the city with a trophy. You could never do that in Glasgow, even no matter how often you won something. It was always something that I felt I'd missed out on. And to do it with a European trophy in the first year was beyond your wildest expectation.
All-conquering yet always humble, it was the Liverpool way.
There was no guy who thought that he was any better or more privileged than any of the others. The great thing was it was a team.
In 1981, the team went on to reach their third European Cup final and triumphed once again, this time in Paris against Real Madrid.
I remember Alan Kennedy's goal, but I don't remember too much about the afterwards. That was a good part of it. He always had a good celebration. The sad part was you couldn't remember it. Bob Paisley said in '77 in Rome, he said he never had a drink. He said he wanted to get drunk in the atmosphere and enjoy the moment and remember it. I never listened to Bob's advice.
Daglish was in his prime and Scotland needed him. 1982 was World Cup year.
You realise your dream when you play for your country.
He'd made his international debut in 1971, scoring his first goal the following year. Scotland did reach the 1974 World Cup finals in Germany, though failed to progress beyond the group stages. It would become a recurrent theme, and it was perhaps this lack of progress which kept superstardom at bay. Gordon McQueen was an international teammate of Kenny's.
I sometimes don't think he get the recognition, certainly worldwide, that he deserved. Whether it was because he played with Scotland, who weren't high profile. Remember, in those days that the English League wasn't as high profile abroad as it is nowadays, or he'd have been a worldwide name.
Scotland qualified for the 1978 finals with Daglish on target at Anfield against Wales. In the tournament itself, he went on to score in a famous win over the Netherlands. But the Scots would once again go no further than the group stages. And 4 years later, the mighty Brazil halted their progress once again.
We did fantastic to qualify. It always just seemed to be just one step too far. I suppose that's just the way Scottish football is.
Daglish's international career was far from over, and he was chasing a record. 2 sublime strikes against Belgium edged him forever closer, and fittingly, at Hampden Park, they finally witnessed him equal the national scoring record of Denis Law.
To share a record with Denis Law is fantastic for me because he was my hero as a young boy, so to share anything with Denis, even if it was a cup of tea, would be fantastic.
He could go games and not score and still be the best player on the field.
Daglish is also, by some distance, Scotland's most capped player.
To do it 102 times was beyond your wildest dreams, but the last one never took, it didn't mean any less to me than what the first one did.
At Liverpool, the goals continued to flow and the plaudits poured in. 1979 saw the Scot win his first Player of the Year award. His career flourished under Bob Paisley, but for Daglish and his manager, the biggest hurdle was the language barrier.
I don't understand him. He said he's got trouble with me. Well, goes both ways.
He is a bit hard to understand, I would think, in team meetings and the like, isn't he? He's a bit hard to understand.
The Scot had good reason to smile. The early 80s saw the birth of what became one of the game's most fearsome attacking partnerships, albeit one with inauspicious beginnings.
I didn't like Kenny when I first met him because he just like taking the mickey and all that, and as a kid, you know, you're thinking, no, does he mean it or not? But what he's doing it to try and get you into the Liverpool way where you have a laugh and a joke, and when you get to know him and all that, you know there's no malice at all in him.
One of the lads off the pitch, maybe, but on it, Daglish played master to Rush's apprentice.
I always remember one day when Kenny was there and he said, you just run into that space. I didn't go, and he had a bit of a go at me. So I thought, next time it comes, you know, I'm going to run into that space. And I ran into space, and the ball came to me, and I scored a goal. And a click there and you see not many people can put the ball into that space, but Kenny was one of them. And he wasn't even looking half the time.
He probably underplays the part he played in the success of Liverpool Football Club. He could finish anyway.
I don't think you need any manager to tell you what you're up against when you're going out to play against them. Man United won next to nothing in the era that I was with them, and simply because that Liverpool were so strong with the players that they had in particular Rush and most definitely Kenny Daglish.
Oh, he's a great player. Involved all the time and everything.
He always wanted to be where the goals were, and he wanted to be in the thick of things.
There were so many goals I would see when he'd get it either on his right foot or his left foot and just bend them in the top corner with just so much ease. And his partnership with Ian Rush growing up, we just thought, wow, they were just amazing.
There's a lot of times when he could have had a shot at goal and he's just side-footed it for me to tap in. Kenny always put the team before any individual.
Player of the Year, Kenny Daglish.
Indisputably Britain's finest player, Daglish was named Double Footballer of the Year in 1983. Though just missed out on the European prize won by Michel Platini. 12 months later, Liverpool reached their 4th European Cup final.
That could arguably be as good an achievement as any of them, because we were playing Roma on our own ground. In any other round of the competition, if you score away from home, it invisibly counts double. Why did we not just get given the trophy at the end of 90 minutes and went to penalty kicks? And Bruce did his famous wobbling act and we realised we scored we'd win the cup, and then we realised it was Alan Kennedy. And we thought, no. But to be fair, in training, he'd knocked most of his penalties in exactly the same spot, and that was us. We were off and running.
Another European Cup, another tour of the city. There would even be the chance of a repeat performance a year later. But tragedy lay ahead, and it brought back painful memories. As a spectator, Daglish narrowly missed the Ibrox disaster of 1971, having left the stadium moments before 66 people died in a stairway crash. In May 1985, he was preparing to play against Juventus in his 4th European Cup final at Brussels' Heysel Stadium. Prior to the kick-off, rival fans clashed, a wall collapsed, and 39 people were killed. The game still went ahead.
Our club had gone on record to state that they didn't think the organisation outside, regards ticket checks and everything, was good enough. But obviously fell on deaf ears. And the football then became totally irrelevant.
Liverpool lost their European crown that night, but the result seemed insignificant. Manager Joe Fagan stepped down immediately, and it was announced that at 34, Kenny Daglish was the new player-manager of Liverpool Football Club.
It was a great compliment to be asked to become manager. And if they had the belief in myself, then it was only right that I should try and support that belief.
He took to it like a duck to water, really. I think he was. He had to sort of change, be more distance himself from the players, but at the same time he'd still be mates with players.
From the darkness of Heysel, Liverpool emerged with the gleam of silverware. Daglish himself scored the goal which clinched the 1986 league title.
There's a great picture of him in the dressing room after, in his kit with his boots off. Kenny was always on his guard. He's very wary what to say, but I think that picture told, of Kenny being relaxed. He said, I've done my job, I've won the league, and now I deserve a drink.
The double was now a very real possibility. What seemed like the entire population of Liverpool descended en masse upon Wembley Stadium. Arch rivals Everton were the opposition, and the first all-Merseyside FA Cup final. Any vantage point would do.
My abiding memory of the game is driving up in the team bus into Wembley, and a father standing there with 2 kids, must have been 6 or 7 of the kids. One decked out blue and white, one decked out red and white. And I thought that's the way it should be.
Everton had finished 2 points behind Liverpool in the League Championship and were determined to spoil their party.
Kenny didn't say too much because he was playing. He didn't have a goal or anything. He basically just said, listen, you haven't played and you're only 1-0 down. Imagine what's going to happen when you do start playing. Try and give us a confidence to go out there and play our normal game. and that's what we've done in the second half. Team's got the equaliser where we knew we were going to win.
Liverpool became only the third club in history to achieve the league and cup double. Kenny Daglish remains the only player-manager to have achieved the same feat. Once again, it was time to celebrate.
I don't know what they deserve, but they've definitely got that anyway. Who's pouring that?
Sam, it's the first time we've ever seen you embarrassed.
It's a glow of you.
The Scots' achievements led to the freedom of his native city, but the hunger for success remained unabated. He continued to develop the Liverpool side, and the late 80s saw what many regard as one of their finest ever teams. Central to that lineup was John Barnes.
He's probably the most intelligent British footballer ever, you know, because Kenny didn't have a lot of pace, not particularly skillful, but he was so intelligent that he could look quick. He thought two steps ahead of everybody else.
The 1988 league title was comfortably secured, and a second Manager of the Year award was added to his collection. But for Dalglish and Liverpool, their darkest hour was still to come. The Hillsborough disaster of 1989 claimed the lives of 96 Liverpool fans. In the weeks that followed, football was forgotten. Liverpool Football Club was represented at each and every funeral, and Dalglish was playing a major role.
The way he handled everything at Hillsborough was incredible. He went to every funeral. Kenny Daglish couldn't do anything more for the people of Liverpool supporters.
Every single person that's got any interest in football was affected by Hillsborough, but not as badly as the families themselves. They're the ones that were most important at that time, and to this day still are the most important.
Fittingly, Liverpool went on to win the FA Cup that season. Dalglish led his team to glory from the sidelines, and in May 1990, his last ever playing appearance saw Liverpool presented with yet another league title. 9 months later, though, Dalglish resigned.
I knew come February that I needed to get a rest, and it wasn't in the club's interest for me to still be there, because if you're in charge and you can't make a decision, then the football club deserves better than that.
His legacy remained, though, and the next generation of Liverpool players found inspiration lay at the feet of the king.
When you're 15, you go and see, arguably one of the greatest managers and one of the greatest players of all time. And he says, how are you? Takes the time out to speak to you and your dad and really show that, he wants you to come and play for him. But at 15, that really sold it for me.
And even the day he left, which was something I'll never ever forget, he had probably the most difficult, traumatic day of his life when he left Liverpool, because he was the king at Liverpool. He still had the time to ring me that afternoon and just say, listen, don't worry about anything. You're going to be fine at Liverpool. They've got high hopes for you. And I think that was a mark of the man.
8 months later, Dalglish was appointed manager of Blackburn Rovers, whom he led to the Premier League title at Anfield in 1995. He also had spells managing Newcastle United and his former club Celtic. It's his talent on the pitch, though, alongside his achievements, which live long in the memory. More than 300 goals in over 800 senior appearances. The first player to score 100 league goals in both Scotland and England. Scotland's most capped player and joint record goalscorer. More than 30 team and individual honours speak volumes for his abilities. And in a recent poll on the club's website, he was voted by the fans as the greatest player in the history of Liverpool Football Club.
It's acknowledged now, he's King Kenny. So he's part of royalty, really.
I'm just thankful that I played with him and grew up with him.
I played with some great players at Celtic, but Kenny assuredly is right at the top of that pile.
One of the greatest Scottish world football players.
He was the #1 Liverpool player of all time, so therefore, in my opinion, the #1 British player of all time.
You got Diego Maradona, Michel Platini, and I think Kenny Daglish is in that category.
I've been fortunate that I've played with him for some great clubs and worked with him for some great clubs. and wait for some great success. And I think the success has been all the sweeter because of the disappointment. So if I was to change some things, it would have been something out with the control of the football or what's happened on the football pitch. And that would have been Heysel and Hillsborough. And that's the only two things I would change.